John Kirkland's with us. John Kirkland with Ironridge Capital. First of all, John has handled several $100 billion in public offerings, and of course, Ironridge Global right there.
Great picture.
Online at ironridgeglobal.com. John, thanks for coming on the air with us, buddy. I appreciate it because I read something, some notes that you made, and one of those notes was that micro-cap exchange-traded funds are outperforming other asset categories. Is that accurate, sir?
Well, that's the interesting thing about it is if you looked in March, every other story you saw was how great microcap funds are and how great the ETFs are doing.
Yeah.
And now it's June and suddenly it looks like they're just marking the market. So it really is, there's tremendous variability in microcaps, but overall, you're going to do better off with a smaller ETF than a larger ETF just by the nature of the beast.
The interesting part is I think that if there's people that have that have an interest in microcap stocks, I know a lot of people do because there's some there's some good swings in microcap stocks. How do you feel about ETFs versus the individual stock picking, John?
Well, if you look at the macro level, Bill Gross at PIMCO came out today. He manages just a tiny little $2 trillion in assets under management.
Ooh.
And he says there's a new normal, which he's calling secular stagnation. He says that the Fed has succeeded, but we're facing a long-term slump, which means that there isn't any growth in the big ETFs. So the only place you can look for it is in the smaller ones.
So at the end of that story is normally people buy ETFs, John, because for lack of a better word, I hate to use the word safety, but it's maybe more prudent to buy an exchange-traded fund with a basket of stocks than an individual stock because obviously as one or two stocks are going down, one or two stocks are going up. Is that sort of the same philosophy with an exchange-traded fund for the microcaps as well?
I think that's the philosophy, but for microcaps, I don't think it works because as you say, the very nature of the ETF is to rely on the average. If you want to rely on the average, go into the Vanguard S&P 500 fund and think about your retirement in 20 years.
Yeah, well,
the ETFs for microcaps don't perform particularly well over the long haul because by the nature, what you're looking for is the big winners.
Yeah, right. That makes sense.
You need to do individual stock picking if you want to play in the microcap world.
Yeah, so if you want to play in the microcap world, it's individual stock picking, and of course, it's a risk-reward ratio type business. So, some are going to swing higher, some are going to you have to keep an eye on. So there you go.
Is there a microcap ETF? Is there,
Are there a few of them, John, that we can look at?
We don't really want them.
The three big ones are IWC, which is the iShares Russell Microcap Index Fund. PZI is PowerShares Zacks, and WMCR is Wilshire Microcap. So if you picked those at January 1st, 3 months ago in March, you'd be feeling fantastic because they were massively outperforming all the other indexes. Now they've trended back down. They're basically just matching the NASDAQ with massive volatility. So you've got a lot stress and heartburn to end up in the same place.
Is that part of the sell in me and go away philosophy, or is that they're just marking the market, in your opinion?
Well, they're trying to pick their stocks, but by definition, the more you get, the more you're approaching the average.
Sure.
It's like 50% of the people say they're better looking than average.
Hey, speaking of better looking than average, LA Kings, you're up there in Los Angeles, Stanley Cup winners. Is there any, we know there's a Super Bowl indicator, there's a Angelina Jolie indicator. Is there a Stanley Cup indicator? What does that mean to the market?
It means absolutely nothing for the market, but I'm in LA, so I wanted to mention that they won. I think it reinforces the world's most overused metaphor in the finance business, which is shots on goal.
Oh my God!
I've never had a meeting, an investor meeting, where they weren't rambling on about shots on goal.
Boy, you're absolutely right.
But I think what it teaches you is what we were just talking about. You've got to buy a ticket to be at the game. These guys tried for 35 years, from 1966 until 2011, and never won the cup. And now they've got it 2 out of 3 years because they just kept at it.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're exactly right. And what shots on goals is the most overused metaphor in the financial markets. Hey, buddy, can't wait to see you come down here to San Diego now that the Kings playoffs are over. Do you have any excuse for not getting up early and coming down here? All right, so let's get your butt down here soon. John Kirkland with Ironridge Global, ironridgeglobal.com, one of the smartest guys in the market. And, of course, these guys are institutional investors in microcap companies, and it kind of gives you a reason why we want to consider microcaps as a possible investment. So it's good stuff. Appreciate that, John.